So recently it's been on my heart to talk about depression because I've been through it myself and I have overcome it, but I know that a lot of people are going through it right now. So it's been on my heart to share my story in hopes that I inspire anybody who's listening to overcome anything that's going on within themselves. So from my experience, in order to overcome depression, I first had to understand why I was depressed in the first place. So I know that a lot of times it feels like you're kind of in this helpless situation where it's like you don't know what's going on, but you feel this way. It's just there for seemingly no reason. And believe me, I've been there for years. So I know what it's like to be in that situation. I know what it's like to be in that spot. And so for me, it took I think it was about three to 4 years to really pinpoint what exactly was wrong. Like why was I feeling depressed? Why was I feeling the way that I was feeling? So I had to start really questioning myself and going deep into myself. And so I had my spiritual awakening back in 2012, but I didn't even realize that I was depressed back in 2010. And I was just having a conversation earlier with a friend about my past and how I grew up. And I told her that basically the reason why I'm in the situation that I'm in right now is a result of where I was 10 years ago. And that was, my mom had just gotten diagnosed with breast cancer, and we were going through the financial, economic crisis at that time, the recession, and then plus my brother, he has autism and cerebral palsy. And so it's kind of like everything was hitting us as a family at once. And I was just in the midst of all that, trying to make sense out of it all. I mean, I stayed strong internally, but I accepted just my environment as the way it is. And I accepted it the way that I felt as just a result of my environment. So I was just responding to the environment that I was living in, which was sort of bleak. I mean, of course there was love there, but it wasn't, there's a lot of stuff hitting us all at once. And so internally, I didn't really have anyone to talk to about all the issues that I was going through and that I was experiencing and seeing on a day-to-day basis. And so I just kept it all inside of me and just kind of dealt with it internally. And so me being in that state of being, in that state of mind, where it was kind of just, I accepted my negative reality and it was far less than ideal. So I just accepted that. And it kind of just put me in this just natural down state where I just was not feeling my best. I was still doing everything. I was still playing basketball, going to school and everything. I was in high school at the time. And I was just seeing all this stuff going on around me. And my only way to deal with it was just internalize it and just figure it out some way. And so, and fast forward to 2012 when I had my spiritual awakening, and that's when I first started getting into meditation. And that's when I first started realizing that I've been showing a lot of signs of depression. Because before that, I honestly didn't even know what depression was. So I was showing a lot of signs and I was meditating on why. I was trying to figure out why. And then, looking around, I saw my external environment, how it was. Mom going through breast cancer, the house kind of literally falling apart. I had a leak in my ceiling, so every time that it rained, rainwater would get inside my house. It was not the best environment to live in. So I just accepted that as my reality. And then my emotional response to that was to get kind of down on myself, but still just put in the work, just stay focused on my goals, not really deal with my emotions as a whole. And so going through my spiritual awakening, it allowed me to really see what was important for me in life and what was not important in my life. So it helped me in essence discover my true soul purpose. And so being that I was beginning to see my purpose more clearly, I knew it had to do with basketball, spirituality, and really ascending myself and helping others ascend as well. I knew that was the basis of my soul purpose. And so knowing that, but also seeing how my external reality did not align with that caused me to fall deeper into the whole depression that I was already in. Because I had this new internal feeling, this just sense of purpose within myself, knowing why I came to Earth, and then seeing how my external reality just didn't really allow for that. I was still in school. I knew that I didn't want to be in school, and financially we weren't in a good place. I didn't have, at that time, I didn't have enough money to go train how I wanted to, and with the trainers that I needed to be training with in order to fulfill my soul purpose. And so basically, the resources for me weren't there. We were losing cars because we just couldn't pay for them anymore. And so, man, we're in a bad place. And it was just a struggle to get to school and back home. We had multiple periods where we had to go without cell phone service because we couldn't pay the bills. Had to go without power because we couldn't pay that bill. We didn't really know if we're gonna have food on the table that night. A lot of experiences like that. And so I accepted that as my reality, but I knew that I deserved way better. I knew that I should have been doing way better, because internally I knew where I was supposed to be headed. And the reason why I was depressed even further is because my external reality didn't match with my internal reality. And so in essence, I knew the path that I was supposed to be on, but it was very hard for me to actually get on that path and live out my purpose. And so I noticed that a big reason why I was depressed was because I wasn't living in my truth. I wasn't living my spiritual path. And so for me, I know that I'm a very focused person. I'm a goal-driven person, and not goals for the egotistical reasons, but I know why I'm here on earth, and I'm gonna achieve that by any means necessary. And I know that the more in alignment I am with my true path, the easier it's gonna flow, the smoother it's gonna flow, and that's gonna open up the channels for everything to flow a lot smoother. And so me not experiencing that, it didn't help me. It caused further frustration within me to bubble over. It caused anxiety, stress, unnecessary stress that didn't need to be there. So it caused a lot of internal issues that all kind of collectively formed into depression. So then moving forward, going into college with that state of anxiousness and stress, it really caused for me to be in a very bad mental place. Because I knew that I didn't want to go to college, but at that time, I wasn't living firmly in my truth. I wasn't listening to my intuition. So I was listening to my parents about going to college, getting a degree, and then I'll be able to play basketball professionally after that. When I knew internally that I didn't want to go to college. And I wish I had really dove into that. I wish I would have really understood why, so that I could explain to my parents and explain to myself why it wasn't necessary for me to go to college, because I'd be on a totally different path right now. I would have been way more rooted in my truth and on my path of alignment than listening to my parents, and not to demonize them, but because they truly thought they were doing what was best for me. And so did I. But I come to realize that what they thought was best for me wasn't actually the best for me. And so I wasn't living in my truth in that sense by going to college. And then while I was in college, I had my first girlfriend, but that's also the time where eventually I got my first heartbreak. So I got my heart broken for the first time. And so that put me in a much lower state than I've ever been in. And that's when I first started to have suicidal thoughts. Say I'm driving back from school, and then having that thought in my mind of I'm in such a low state, and I don't even see a way out. So why not just end it right now? Why not just swerve off the road and end it? So it was stuff like that where it's just I knew I wasn't supposed to be thinking those thoughts, but they just come intrusively because I was just resonating at that frequency. And I thank God, my higher self, that I'm stronger than I know better than to give into those thoughts. So that allowed me to grow a lot and create a lot of strength within myself. So I know that no matter what I go through, I know that I'll be good internally. So that was a major lesson that I learned going through depression, battling it every single day. Because the battles, they're not there for no reason. Nobody consciously chooses to be depressed, but if we go through it, then there's a reason why. And there's always lessons scattered throughout every single experience that we have with depression. And so going through that heartbreak and going through that stage of my life where I wasn't living my truth, it was just eating away at me continuously. And then because I went to a junior college the first year, and then I was gonna transfer to a 4-year college after that, play basketball there. And so I almost went to this school in Montana, but my parents didn't think that was best for me. And so my father suggested that I stay at home for a year, just keep training, keep mastering my craft, and then see if there are other colleges interested in me after that year is up. And so immediately my soul just said, yes, like, do this, do it now. Don't hesitate, don't wait, just do it, make that decision, stay home. And so I did that, and that kind of like catapulted me into my path of alignment, because it was literally my parents giving me a free pass to just work on my craft, and then come home, meditate, focus on my spiritual work. And so I took full advantage of that. I was training at the Mamba Sports Academy. I was getting great training, so I was making progress every day on the basketball court, and that made me feel so good, because I was gaining progress. I was finally seeing the progress that I really wanted to see in myself. And so that right there was a boost of confidence. That right there boosted my spirits. And so, given the fact that I was also able to come home and meditate as much as I want, man, I was in such alignment that I didn't even know I could feel that good, because I haven't felt that good literally since I was a child. And so going from, since I was like ending middle school, 2009, 2010 to 2016, so 6 or 7 years, I did not really feel good, besides maybe like a few moments here and there. But overall, it was always that feeling of like, just like that feeling of stress and anxiousness, that just depressed feeling that's hard to describe, but you know it if you feel it. So I was constantly living with that. And so that was impeding on my life in a multitude of different ways. So like, I'd be out with friends, but in my mind, I'd be somewhere else. I wouldn't be there. And like, even going to like some concerts and stuff, like I thought being around all those people who were vibing to the same music would help me like boost my spirits. But in reality, it actually didn't. It caused me to feel even worse, because I felt more separated from everybody there than I ever have in my own life. Because I felt like I was alone and isolated in a room full of people that I was literally standing shoulder to shoulder with, vibing to the same music with. So I still felt alone and isolated even in that, and that made me feel even worse. So I knew that I really had to take advantage of the time that I was given, the freedom that I was given, to focus on myself and mastering my craft. And so I did just that. I meditated like 3 hours a day, just getting to the root of why I was feeling the way that I felt. And every time that I did that, like every time that I meditated, and also I did a lot of lucid dreaming at that time. So every time that I did one of those two, I would always face some type of inner demon that I was dealing with. So it'd be like, I'd get through a meditation, I'd enter my void, and then I'd feel into everything that I was feeling. So I'd feel into the stress, I'd feel into the anxiousness, I'd feel into the depression, I'd feel into where I was at within myself, and then literally just sit there with it, observe it, and then see why I was there, understand it. Understand that it's not there because it chose to be. It's there because it's me, it's my fault. The decisions that I made within my own life, based on the external environment that I was in, caused me to feel that way. So in other words, the environment that I'm living in, it's just the environment that I'm living in. It's not for or against me, it's just, it is what it is. And so it's me who decides how to respond and react to that external environment that causes me to feel the ways that I feel. Because I could have responded in different ways. Like, say I could have responded in a way that's more like heroic in a sense. Like, I could have been more like vocal about how I'm feeling, and then like I could have did more to like change the situation around me and stuff. But I chose to internalize all of it because I didn't know how to express myself at that time. I didn't have anyone available to talk to me about what I was going through, who would actually understand and be able to offer help. And the reason why that is because I didn't know myself at that time. I was just beginning to come into my inner knowing. So from 2010 to 2016, I gained a whole ton of self-knowledge. So I knew myself a lot better than I did back when I was just a kid in middle school and high school. And since I took the time to go within myself and face everything that I was feeling and face everything that I was dealing with, that allowed me to really understand myself from that deep, dark level, that deep, dark, mysterious level. Like oftentimes, like when we're depressed, it feels like we're like trapped in this abyss that just never ends. Like there's no ceiling, and it's just all darkness that we're surrounded by, that we're just living in. And so it's kind of like we're living life, being social from that deep, dark abyss, and we just feel trapped there no matter what. So we know that we're not our feelings, and we know that we're not our emotions, but we know that we are the void itself. And everything that's in that void is us. So the monsters in the closet, the negative emotions that we're feeling, all that stuff, it's just us. It's just our own personal decisions, our own reactions to external realities. And then those are the manifestations of the internal environment that we've created for ourselves. So in essence, yes, depression is our fault. So we got to take ownership of that, because everything that we feel is not us, but how we choose to react to how we feel, that comes from us. And then that's the cause of our feelings after that. And then the feelings that we experience after that are the effects. And it's never an overnight process. Like overcoming depression is always day by day by day, because what you're doing is you're getting the demon, like you're becoming friends with the demons, you're understanding them, and you're turning them good. So they're no longer attacking you. You're learning how to work with them, because they're not our enemies. And so those decisions that we've made that cause further separation and fragmentation within ourselves, that's just those parts, like when it feels like our inner demons are attacking us, that's literally just those parts of ourselves trying to come back and merge with us. I mean, they don't know, all they know is that we've distanced ourselves from them, we separated ourselves from them, and all they know is they want back. They need to be a part of us. And so they come back in the energy that you gave out. So it's like if we made a decision from a negative state of mind, and then that negative decision caused further separation within us, that energy is implanted in that part of ourselves that's separate. So it's gonna come back how it went. So the energy is still gonna be there. So the state of mind that we're in that moment when we separated is gonna come back to us in that same exact way. So that's when it's up to us to really get in tune with ourselves, to say, I accept you as part of myself, and I wish to understand you. And so since I want to understand you, that allows you to merge back with me, because we are connected, we're the same. You're a part of me, and I'm a part of you. And so you can literally, like I was doing right there, I was literally visualizing a different part of myself sitting right there beside me, and me talking to it, me speaking to it as if it was a human right next to me. And so you can do that with all your internal issues. And so speak to it like a friend, speak to it out of love, out of passion, and speak to it just in an overall positive manner. Stay real and true to yourself, but be positive with it. Because that's what I did every time I was in meditation, and even in lucid dreams. So in meditation, I would sit with myself, breathe, enter my void, and then anything that came up, say it was like a literal demon that came up, well, a literal demon, something that a part of myself that looked like a demon came up within me. And I would just observe it and analyze it, and then I would ask it questions. I would ask why it became what it became. Why is it that this is coming up within me? So why are you here right now? Why am I experiencing this? I would ask it those questions, and then I would listen to my intuition about why, my intuition would give me answers. And so getting those answers allowed me to get to the root of all the issues within myself. And then once I got to the root of the issue, I was able to understand how to overcome that issue and how to merge that aspect back with myself so that I know that it's me and it's loved, it's cared for, and it's appreciated. Because even that, the so-called inner demons have a myriad of things to teach us. And so as long as we're open, accepting, and loving of them, no matter how scary they look, no matter how much they hurt, just know that we're in control of them still. Those still are parts of us, so we're still in control. We control how we respond and react. We may not control how we feel, but we control how we respond and react. And if you meet it with hostility, it's going to become even more hostile to you. So I remember there was plenty of nights where I was trying to go to sleep, and it literally felt like I was being like covered and bathed in lava. Like I feel this like intense heat and pressure just come over my entire body, and I wouldn't be able to sleep because of it. And so that I knew that those were parts of me, those are aspects of myself that I needed to merge back with me. No matter how much it hurt, I had to understand it, I had to love it in order for it to become a loving aspect of myself again. And then in lucid dreams, there were times where I literally faced demons in my lucid dreams because those demons were the manifestations of the parts of myself that I fragmented. Those were the issues, the internal issues within me, within myself that I didn't deal with. And they were coming up within my subconscious mind. Because when we lucid dream, we're literally in our subconscious mind, and when we become conscious within those dreams, conscious within our subconscious mind, that's a lucid dream. So we're conscious of the fact that we're dreaming, we're conscious of the fact that we're in our subconscious minds. And so whatever we see in there is a creation from ourselves, from our internal selves. And so if you see something that's scary, something that you're frightened by, something that looks foreign, that's something that's within you that you haven't dealt with yet. That's something that's subconscious that still has to become conscious within you so that you can learn to understand it. Because I've had like plenty of dreams where I was getting chased by something, chased by a big monster. I've had dreams where I got body parts chopped off, where I got shot and killed. And those are all just parts of me, just issues that I haven't dealt with, that were trying to get my attention in the subconscious realm, aka the lucid dream. And me becoming lucid within that dream, aka being conscious within my subconscious mind, I was able to see it for what it is. And so I turned around to the monster chasing me, and it just stood there. It didn't do anything. It didn't try to grab me and hurt me or anything like that. It just stood there. And when I just literally like stood there and looked at it, observed it, it felt like I was just looking at a different part of myself. But it was a part of myself that's been neglected, that hasn't been cared for, that hasn't been looked after, that hasn't been loved. And so it's how we, like I said earlier, how we respond in those moments where we distance ourselves, where we fragment ourselves. That energy is implanted into that same part that we fragmented. So it's gonna come back in that same energy. And so in those dreams that I've had, I've literally had to face myself, face my fears, face my internal demons through what manifested in those lucid dreams. And so by doing that, I was able to see and get a better understanding of my own subconscious mind, how it works, how it operates, and just everything that goes into it, and then what it manifests, how it tries to process everything that I've been going through. So meditation and lucid dreaming were two major parts in overcoming depression. And couple that with realigning with my true spiritual path, that was the formula that allowed me to overcome depression. Because during that 2016-2017 year is when I was on my path of alignment. I was feeling good physically, I was feeling amazing physically. That's when I went vegetarian, then I went vegan. I was meditating every day, getting right within myself, centering myself, and living from my sacred heart space. So really embodying myself as a spirit. So I was doing that, I was on my path, and I was overcoming depression because of all of that. So I was on my path, literally facing my inner demons head on. And that's what allowed me to overcome the depression. I mean, it's a lot of work. You could label it as hard, or you could label it as easy. It's whatever you perceive it to be, but it's a lot of work. And so all you have to do is just be willing to do that work. Because I know how scary it might seem sometimes. I know that it might seem like like you're abandoned, you're alone, you have nobody there to help you. Good, leave it like that. Because when you go through it like that, that helps you become so much stronger. Because for me, I had probably literally only 2 people who I could really talk to about what I was going through internally, but they weren't there for me all the time because they're going through their own stuff too. So it's not like they're there for me 24/7. It was only when we connected in our paths of alignment that we could connect and share and really open ourselves and express ourselves to each other. And so it wasn't all the time that I had somebody who I could talk to, because I had other people who I could talk to, but they didn't understand. So they didn't understand what I was going through or why I was going through it. No matter how much I tried to express myself to them, they didn't understand. And notice that made me feel worse in battling depression, because I felt alone. I felt isolated. I felt like nobody understood me. I felt like I had nobody here on earth who could really vibe with me. And so that made me feel even worse. And so that put me in that mindset of, well, how I reacted to that put me in that mindset of, why even be here? I have nobody here with me. I feel like I'm alone, so why even be here? And so once I finally came to grips with that, with accepting that, that's when everything changed for me. Because instead of putting my energy into, why can't I find anybody who understands me? Why can't I find anybody who vibes with me, who's gonna be there for me? Instead of putting my energy into that, complaining about that, trying to find somebody like that, I put my energy into, okay, well, this is how it is. This is my reality. I accept it. So no matter what, I want to overcome this. I want to overcome everything that I'm dealing with internally. And so in order to do that, I might have to go alone. So that's what I did. I went in alone. Because meditation, I was alone. Lucid dreaming, I was alone. And it's your internal battle for a reason. It's not something that you do collectively with other people. It's your internal battle for a reason. And that's another thing. You can look at it as a battle, or you can look at it as something else in a more positive manner. Because going back, I wish I didn't look at it like a battle. I wish I looked at it like it was just me merging myself with different parts of myself, like how I was explaining it in this video. Because if I looked at it like that, it probably would have went a lot smoother, and I wouldn't have had those real negative experiences where it's like literally your emotions, your internal feelings put you in that fight or flight state. Because if I'm looking at it as a battle, that's how internally I'm gonna receive it, as a battle. So if I'm feeling those feelings like I'm in a battle, and that's gonna trigger that fight or flight mode. And that's only going to hinder you in your progression of overcoming it. Because if you look at it like you're literally just merging different parts of yourself, you're healing childhood traumas, you're healing traumas that you've been through recently, you're healing whatever it is that needs to be healed, and you're merging those parts back within yourself. And you're doing it all from your heart, you're doing it all from love. So when you look at it like that, it becomes a lot easier. And the flow is a lot more smooth when overcoming everything that you're overcoming depression, anxiety, stress, everything that comes with it. And so for me, the reason why I know that, it's just more confirmation that what I did is what allowed me to overcome depression. Because during 2016 and half of 2017, I was living my path. I was playing basketball, mastering my craft. I was focusing on my spirituality. So I was mastering myself physically and in every other aspect. And then, remember how I mentioned, I took that year off from school, and then after that, I transferred to a 4-year university. And at that time, I definitely knew that was not for me. That was definitely not for me. But I did it anyways because I wanted to be a good man, and keep my word to my parents and finish school for them. And just me saying that sentence out loud, it makes me realize how much I wasn't living for myself in that moment. because I was living more for my parents than I was for myself, because I was doing it only literally for them and like the rest of my family members who wanted me to go to school and get a degree. And so I was there in school, moved out and everything, so I was on my own. And I'm fine being on my own, but it's the fact that I internally knew that that was not my path. That was not the move that I was supposed to do. And so in knowing that, I try to just be like, okay, well, I mean, I know that that's the case, but I'm just gonna get through it. I'm gonna use everything that I learned spiritually in order to get through this in the smoothest way possible. And so at first, it was going pretty well. I was playing basketball, going to class. Class was easy because I was utilizing techniques where I channeled in information like from the teachers and other people who knew the subjects. And so I would channel that energy in the form of information and then internalize that and then intuitively feel what I'm supposed to be writing, what I'm supposed to be, like the questions that I'm supposed to be answering. And I would utilize that, and school just flowed so much easier because of that. So I was thinking like, okay, this is gonna be a breeze. I mean, I know I'm not supposed to be here, but I'm here, and so I'm just gonna do my best. But as time went on, as the basketball season went on, things started going downhill for me. I started feeling that depression coming back because I knew that I wasn't supposed to be on that path. I knew that that was like a complete detour from where I was supposed to be going. And so in me taking that detour and me having the inner knowledge of knowing where I was really supposed to be, that brought back that feeling of, okay, I'm kind of sinking. I'm sinking lower and lower and lower. I'm not feeling my best. I'm starting to feel worse and worse each day. And eventually it got to the point throughout the year where it literally started to feel like I was gonna die from some external source, from some external reason, like somebody would like run up on me and like I'd be like in the wrong place at the wrong time, something like that. And like I remember there was an earthquake one time. I was like, kind of felt like I was gonna die in that. And it was all bad because of one decision that I made. And that one decision was going against myself, against my true self. And that's what caused me to feel that way again. That's what caused me to fall back into depression. And so it got so bad that the suicidal thoughts came back too. And I tried talking to my friend about everything, but nothing was helping. And nothing was helping because I was off my path, and I knew internally, intuitively, spiritually, everything, every part of my being, every fiber of my being, every aspect of myself was saying, don't be here right now. Figure out where you're really supposed to be. Drop out of school, go back home, and then figure out your path from there. And so I tried putting that off, tried ignoring that, and eventually it just got too much to ignore. I couldn't do it anymore. So I had to drop out. I just stopped going to class, filed the paperwork to drop out and everything to like take me out of the school system. And so I was out, and that immediately felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. I felt so much more free. I felt bad in the sense that I felt like I let my parents down, and I felt bad because it was hard for me to accept that I did that to myself again. So it was such like that experience alone after dropping out was a lot of lessons to be learned, because I was angry at myself for letting myself get back to that point. And then I had to come to that anger, accept it and understand it, and then figure out my path from there. So I had to do the process all over again of overcoming the depression that I literally did probably like 7 to 8 months before that. And so I had to do it again, but thankfully that process did not take as long as the first time, because the first time it was me just figuring out my way for myself. And the second time was like, okay, well, I already know what to do, so I'm just gonna do the work. I already know it, so I'm gonna do it. As simple as that. Put my head down and just went to work. So I went back home, moved back to my parents' house, and then I started getting right with myself. And from then on, I started to overcome depression again for the second time. And now I can say that I'm truly, finally happy. I ended up moving out of my parents' house, getting a new place for myself. And I can say that I'm truly happy I mean, I'm still going through some tough times because I'm still learning like all the fine, intricate details of my path. So those lessons are still there for me. But I'm definitely not doing it from a depressed state, from a state of anxiousness, from a place of stress, none of that. I'm centered within myself. I mean, I'm human, so sometimes I do feel those emotions. So that it's natural sometimes to feel those because like you're going through a stressful situation. But now the only difference is that you don't succumb to the stress, you feel it, and you learn how to utilize it for yourself in order to keep going further on your path. And so those are the lessons that I've learned. And really, you learn so much more about yourself going through depression than, at least from my perspective, than I have ever doing anything else in life. Because being in depression is literally you sitting with, like, it's you having to face your true self and realize your own truth for yourself. And so the more that you turn away from that, the worse the depression is going to get. But the sooner you actually turn to your true self and really get in alignment with yourself, that's when you really make progress. That's when you learn so much more about yourself. You know, because like those inner demons, like I said, they're just parts of you. And so as you're overcoming them, you're learning them. So those are parts of yourself that you're learning. And it's like picking up new tools that you never even used before. And it's like you didn't even know they're there. But since they're coming to you, you understood them. It's like now you're getting a new tool for you to use. Now you can utilize that in any way you wish you can use. So from my perspective and from my experience, the true way, the best way to get over depression, to overcome depression, is to face yourself, figure out who and what you are, and then figure out your own truth. Figure out what's really true to you. Why are you here on earth? And then once you understand what that is, get on that path of alignment and just go. Just go, go, go. Learn along the way. And you'll learn more about yourself and more about the world through being on your path of alignment than you ever will doing anything else. So no matter what your path is, whether it is going to school, getting a job, you know, that whole thing, or whether it's dropping out like me and finding my own way, or whether it's doing something completely different, no matter what it is, it's your path for a reason. So you have to stick with it. And if you're someone who's still dealing with, like, even if you're on your path, but you're still dealing with those internal issues, take time to yourself to meditate, learn how to lucid dream, which I will be having a video on that in the future. But until then, Ryan Cropper has some great videos teaching on how to lucid dream and to astral project. And so just take that time to really get right with yourself. Stop focusing on your past for a second and just focus on you, yourself, because you can't move forward with an injury within yourself. Say it's like you're trying to play sports on a sprained ankle. It's gonna hinder you. So you have to really heal yourself first, get right within yourself and be healed before you can really make true progress on your journey. And lately that's been my lesson, to really heal from everything that I've been through and to really dive deeper into those traumas and understand them deeper so that I can utilize everything that I've learned and then keep moving forward on my journey. Because you'll find that the more that you learn about yourself, the result of that is the more you understand of the entire world, the entire universe. Because the universe is in you. You are the universe. So if you learn yourself, you learn what's external. As within, so without. So you'll be able to connect the dots between the lessons that you learn within yourself and what you see externally outside of yourself. So, life is just all one big game. It's just one big collective game that we're playing together. And what I've learned, especially something that I learned from going through depression, is to not take things so seriously. Like, be more lighthearted. Because like for me, I've been to the lowest of the low. I didn't act on my feelings that I felt. Thank myself for that. But I've been to the lowest of the low. So it's like, man, if I can get through that, if I can survive that, and if I could thrive from that, man, there's no reason to take myself so seriously. Like, there's no reason to get down on one little thing that happened. There's no reason for that. So why do it? Because like once you learn those lessons, you see how life is literally just a game. Everything becomes kind of funny to you. That's why like in serious situations, I'm able to just like laugh at things because I see what things how they are in actuality. And so I see that there's no need for all the heavy, serious, dense emotions. I mean, if you want to express yourself that way, you can, but in reality, there's really no need for that. There's really no need for that. And so I just learned a lot of lessons from depression, and I'm actually grateful for it. I'm thankful that I've been through that situation. I'm thankful that I experienced that because it's taught me so much in life that I would have had to learn from other ways, maybe external sources, but I literally went within myself because of depression. And then I learned all those things from within myself. And so that allowed me to tap into my own higher self, my own inner source, so that I can be my own source of abundance. I can be my own source of love. I can be my own source of happiness. I'm my source of everything. So everything that I need is within myself. And depression taught me that. And so I actually am grateful for it. And I hope that my experience, me sharing my experience, allows you to find beauty in your struggle. You know, like the rose that grew from concrete, Tupac. You know, that's so relevant to this topic because no matter what we go through, we can always choose to be our true selves. We can always choose to be our true spirits, embody everything that we are. So no matter what your environment is, you can go through it. You can grow through it, and you can be your best. And then once you're strong enough, you can uproot yourself and move to a better environment that suits you. You can create your own environment that suits you. So the power is within us, and that's basically it. That's the lesson right there. The power is in us. If we can cause ourselves to be in depression, then we can cause ourselves to be in a state of pure bliss and happiness. You know, it's all a decision. It's all internal. It's mental and it's of the heart. It's soul. It's spiritual. So it's all us. So all you gotta do is just take initiative, take control of yourself, take responsibility of yourself, and do all the necessary work in order to get to where you need to be. So with that, I'm gonna just leave it there. You know, all I gotta say now is that I love y'all. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Be yourself.